How's it going, guys? Welcome to the Trades and Grades YouTube channel. I'm Noah Wright, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to fix your Dynasty fantasy football teams. I feel like this is one of the most important times in Dynasty fantasy football right now. We're getting into week 11. Playoffs are just around the corner, and you're trying to figure out if your team's a contender, pretender, if you're in a rebuild, whatever that might be. But the worst place you could be right now is in the middle. So today I'm going to try and help you guys figure out if you're in the middle. Are you going to try and do ascend to win that championship, or are you going to try and get a head start on that rebuild before some of your older players have begun to age out and you're just kind of riding those assets into the ground? So stick with me. We're about to see some trades that I have made on my own team that I feel like it's the best way to show you guys how to do this. I just did it recently with one of my own teams in a 12-team super flex. So we're about to see how it gets done. But before we go any further, guys, please like this video, subscribe to our channel. That way you never miss another video. We just put out a new 2023 rookie mock draft. And that's going to be something that we're going to be looking at hard in the next couple of months when we're getting ready for the draft, the NFL Combine, all that stuff. We're going to have rookie profiles, but please like this video, subscribe to the channel so that way you never miss another video. All right, let's take a look at my team here. So we have a 12-team super flex, tight end premium, full PPR league. If those don't quite make sense to you, please leave a comment and we will explain those. But essentially, tight end premium, you get extra points for your tight end. Super flex means you play two quarterbacks if you want to. You don't have to. There's an extra flex spot for a quarterback. And then PPR is points per reception. So every time somebody catches it, they get a point, right? So we drafted this league this past year, and the draft just kind of fell to me where I got some older players that I felt like were going to be really good, but they might be getting to that point where they're falling off that cliff, getting out of their prime. So starting at quarterbacks, we have Tom Brady. Obviously, that's a big question mark. This year he's been not playing super great, but he's still serviceable. And Derek Carr, again, the same thing, kind of middling quarterback 2 range. At running back, we have Christian McCaffrey, Kareem Hunt. And then wide receivers, I felt pretty solid about with Cooper Kupp, Mike Evans, Tyler Lockett, and Deontay Johnson. I know Deontay Johnson's had a little bit of a down year, but I felt pretty good with him. And I had a couple guys that really elevated me with Curtis Samuel and Cordell Patterson. Those guys were just kind of picks late in rounds where I was happy that I could get them where I get them, and they end up having some pretty good years. And so this starting lineup, I was feeling decently solid, but obviously there are some big question marks as to, where am I going to be in the next couple of years? And so I'm sitting here at 7-3, and I'm in 4th place. However, obviously Cooper Kupp just went down on IR. Huge blow to my team. He was kind of carrying my team. Christian McCaffrey's been pretty solid, but I'm not quite sure he's going to have the same ceiling in San Francisco as he did with Carolina, just because of all the mouths to feed there. So what I went ahead and did was pull a trade where I just felt like I need to get rid of some aging guys that have good wide receivers, and this kind of just started the tear down of my team. Now, the biggest question is, how do I know when I'm going to tear down my team? Do I need to, or should I make that final push for the championship? And my biggest indicator was looking at where my team was in relation to the rest of my league in points scored. And another thing you can look at is max points for. And both of those things are on the Sleeper app. If you have Sleeper, it's a great app for fantasy football. But I will show a picture here. But essentially, my team was 7th in points scored. And for max points for, I was 3rd. So while I had the potential to have good points scored, my managing skills weren't the greatest. So I was trying to figure out, is my team going to be able to match up against everybody without Cooper Kupp in the lineup? And I just felt like with all the aging assets, I looked at the other teams around me, decided this wasn't going to happen, and I decided to do the rebuild a little early. So without further ado, let's show the first trade that I made to kind of tear this team down. All right, here's the first trade. So I felt I had pretty decent wide receiver depth, all things considered. I do like Mike Evans a lot, but Tom Brady looking to retire soon. maybe makes me feel a little, uneasy about that because of the situation there. I offloaded him along with Jeff Wilson, who's a great buy if you are a contender. I sent both of these to a contender, along with Tommy Tremble because he needed a backup tight end in case they were healthy. For Javonte Williams and K. Dotton, two guys that I really like a lot. Javonte was a top 5 running back in Dynasty till his injury this year, and I understand that he's going to be it's going to be a little while before he gets back. However, he's so explosive before the injury, and I know it's going to take a little bit, but I was willing to offload and then get a couple upside guys. I like K. Dotton a lot as well. He's going to have a couple years to develop, and so I'm sure by that point in time, if he's still on Tampa Bay, they'll have a quarterback, whereas Mike Evans is going to be considerably older. I think he's 29 already. And so, well, it hurt to get rid of Mike Evans because he's a dog. I was happy with my return here. I felt like one of the biggest things, too, if you are going to tear down your team, is getting rid. One of the biggest, I want to say, like, shortcuts, or perhaps not shortcut, but hacks, is to get rid of players who are scoring you points that are good for injured players who are younger and have upside. So, like, Hollywood Brown this year would have been a good one. Jamar Chase, hard to buy, obviously, but that's another example of, like, someone that's injured. Javonte Williams, Breece Hall, J.K. Dobbins, all those players come to mind. All those players I'm looking to buy who are on contenders if that's in your league. And one of the easiest ways to do this, in my opinion, and one of the best tools I like to use, is the Dynasty Nerds Dynasty GM. And what that is it has a ton of tools, but one of the biggest things they have is a league analyzer, and it allows you to look at all the other teams in your league, and it shows them where they're at in terms of, like, how good are the wide receivers, how good are the running backs, how good are the tight ends. And while you can do that on your own, which is what I'd recommend doing, is looking at those teams and seeing, if a contender is missing some running backs, throw out Jeff Wilson, get a 2023 third rounder if you are in a rebuild. Because what's Jeff Wilson going to do for you next year and beyond? Probably not a whole lot. It's just capitalizing on those moments for other teams. And so one of the biggest things is this Dynasty Nerds, Dynasty GM. I'll pull it up here. But it does a great job of showing you how you compare to other teams. And if you use my code NOAH22, NOAH22, you get 15% off. And it is the price of a cup of coffee a month. It is, if you have multiple teams, it makes managing your team so much easier. So I highly recommend. You don't have to, but if you want to get a really good tool and you get 50% off, like I said, 15% off, 15, you can do that. All right, guys. I'm moving on to the next trade here in this next video. So click on this video if you want to see how I continue to tear down my team in order to maximize value, continue a dynasty, because that's what this is. It's dynasty fantasy football. This isn't redraft. So we're always looking to the next year, this next draft class, whatever it might be. So if you want to figure out how to, understand if you need to move on with your team and tear it down, or if you want to move for that championship, continue to watch this video. I'll give pointers as well as an example of how I did it with my own team. So like I said, click on this video and you'll see you on the next one.